Hello, welcome back to another episode of Book Cafe, where we pair the writers, illustrators, and editors of children's books with their consumers. This week we have a wonderful guest from Minneapolis, David Geister. David should be coming in anytime now. He should be joining us here in the Book Cafe. So, hello, David.
Oh, hello, how are you?
Good. Welcome to the cafe. We're going to talk about books today.
Oh, I hate books. Oh, I can't stand books.
Yeah.
No, I love books. Michael, I live for books. I know that probably sounds a bit much, but I mean, I really, truly do. So, good.
No. I believe that. Are you in Minneapolis?
I am, most definitely.
I'm down in Tennessee, so it's quite warm here today.
You know what? Surprisingly warm here too, but it's okay. I can handle it.
Yeah.
It's
well,
good.
I've invited a couple more people to join us here in the cafe because I could talk to you for an hour about books. But I've invited a few friends. Oh, here comes someone now.
You guys hear us?
Oh, there they are.
Hello. So I'm Dave. Let's see. And one of you is Daniel, and the other one's Alyssa. Let me guess. Oh.
Very
Cheers. Good morning.
Cheers. Good morning.
Do you two like books? Do you read?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Like what?
I've read Wonder recently. And I'm reading But Not Bunny.
Oh, David, have you read Wonder?
No, but I probably should. Do you recommend it?
Yes, it's a really good book.
All right.
I recommend it too.
Yeah, good. Excellent.
So David, tell us a little bit about what you do.
Well, I do a lot of things. I am a picture book illustrator. I'm a historical painter. You can probably tell I've got a scene in the background there of a historic site not too far from where I live, as it would have looked 200 years ago this summer, actually. I'm a sculptor. I don't do big sculptures. Every now and then I do little ones.
You did that?
I did. I don't know if you can see him very well. He's a soldier from the Civil War. I'm a big Civil War enthusiast. I'm a monster kid. I love monsters. I do. I've got a podcast where I talk about monsters every week. So I'm a huge fan of, that kind of stuff.
Interesting. Yeah. What's your favorite monster?
Ooh, that's really hard to answer. Oh my gosh. Well, you know what? I've got to say I'm kind of an old school monster kid, so I'm drawn towards things like the Creature from the Black Lagoon or Dracula or Frankenstein's creature. But really, I kind of like them all. I'm just fascinated with them.
You like
how about you?
What's that? Do you like any Greek mythology monsters?
Ooh, yes. We talking like hydras and Cyclops and whatnot?
Yeah.
Sign me up. I'm there. Yep.
I don't even know what you all are talking about.
You know what? It's a secret language. You're going to have to, you got to earn your way into it, Michael.
Alyssa, do you know what they're talking about here?
Yes, I'm really into mythological creatures like
outstanding. Yep.
Like what?
Greek myths like Medusa.
Yeah.
Circe, stuff like that.
Can we throw a Minotaur in there just for the fun of it?
Yes.
All right, good.
Tell us about your books.
Well, I've got 21 or 22 books right now. I did a number of books for a company called Sleeping Bear Press. You're familiar with them. One of which is behind me here. This is B is for Battle Cry, a Civil War alphabet that my dear wife wrote. And this was sort of a labor of love for us because we're both history people. My wife taught history for almost 38 years. And we spent a lot of time wearing costumes at historic sites. So anyhow, yes, a lot of picture books with sort of historical flavor, but also, I think somebody just knocked on the door.
Did we let someone else in the door?
Yes, somebody just came.
Who is that?
Hello.
Who are you?
Hello.
Tell us who you are.
My name is Pam, and I'm a kindergarten teacher in Granby, Colorado.
Cheers to you.
Thank you.
Cheers. Welcome to the Book Cafe. This is David, and this is Alyssa and Daniel. They're from the
All right.
Memphis area. And he was
Okay.
just now telling us about B is for Battle Cry. Now, Pam,
Right.
you're a teacher, aren't you?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Tell us about Battle Cry.
Yeah, so Battle Cry is like so many of the books that Sleeping Bear Press does. It's an alphabet book, so you have a selection for each letter of the alphabet. My favorite, D is for diseases. Yes.
I don't. You don't sound like you're right.
I'm not right. I'm not. G is for Gettysburg. My wife and I spent a month at Gettysburg last year as the artist in residence for the National Park Service. So needless to say, we've always had sort of a strong connection to that battlefield in particular. In fact, in a little while, I'll just quickly show you some of the references for this painting. Anyhow, so B is for Battle Cry. But not everything I do is historical in nature. Lately, I've been doing books for a man named Alan Page. And Alan Page was a man who played for the Minnesota Vikings long before you two were born. The older folks in the room here maybe know who he was. But when Alan was done being one of the MVPs, the Purple People Eaters, they called them, for the Vikings back in the 70s, he got a degree in law and became a lawyer, and then ultimately became a Supreme Court justice here in the state of Minnesota. And he just retired a couple years ago. So he's become a friend of mine over the last few years, and he loves reading to kids in schools. So this is the first book I did with Alan, and check out his pinky, okay? It really does do that. It heads off into its own territory, and hence the title, Alan and his perfectly pointy and possibly perpendicular pinky. Wow. But as you can see, not everything I paint is historical in nature. This is a very typical scene of Alan reading to school kids in the classroom here in Minnesota. He's a sweet man, and I've actually done 4 books for him so far. The most recent one has to do with bees, visiting a bee farm. And so those are some of my books.
Can you draw for us? You have an easel back there. Can you draw for us?
I'd love to. In fact, how about if I start some drawing, and then if you have any questions, fire away, okay?
Yeah.
I'll try to explain what I'm doing as I go here.
Pam, are you familiar with the alphabet books with Sleeping Bear Press?
Yes, I am.
So they
I
would be good.
I did have an artist question about the painting.
Yes.
I have friends who paint, and one friend does the background totally first, background, and then pencils in, and then does the painting. The other friend does it almost like the paint by number, where she just does, like there might be only one petal of a flower left on the whole painting. And I just thought it was odd. I just thought there was, a set way that people do that, but there's not.
You're right. There is not. I mean, there are ways that illustrators or painters often work that technically make more sense, which is to get that background in and then build everything that's on top of it. But the truth is, I bounce around myself. And inevitably what happens is, if I'm working on a picture and it just seems like it's taking forever to get done, especially like this big one back here, I will reward myself with the chance to go into a few small areas with a tiny brush and paint in some details, just, to make it come back to life. But then I have to remind myself to step back, literally see the big picture, and keep working on the sky or whatever. So yeah, in fact, actually, Michael, before I draw, what would you say if I were to show them a couple of working reference pictures for that Gettysburg painting I just showed you?
I would say OMG.
All right. So we're going to attempt to do a share screen. You tell me.
Yes. Wonderful.
All right.
So here is my thumbnail sketch for the G is for Gettysburg painting for my alphabet book. And so that drawing is in this little book right here. It's literally, I don't want to waste your time while I try to find the exact sketch, but you get the idea. They're like this size, little drawings, okay?
Yeah.
This is the sketchbook that I used when I worked on B is for Battle Cry. So then I come up with this idea, and then the young man who eventually has become my son-in-law and the father of 3 of my grandchildren came over and put on one of my uniforms, and I have an original Civil War musket that I handed him. We live at a street corner in South Minneapolis, so you don't normally walk around with handguns all the time or firearms, but our neighbors know us. And so I said, Kevin, go out into the front yard and look at this picture right here, see how people are standing, and get into those poses. So I shot many pictures of Kevin acting out the various characters in the painting. And I knew that the sun had to be a certain angle in the sky because it's replicating a specific moment at the Battle of Gettysburg. And then what I did is I came in and I redrew everything in pencil using the photograph now as the reference.
Okay.
So can you see where that comes from? Can you see how I changed things? The man down in the corner here wearing a cap suddenly becomes a man without a cap. And he ultimately becomes a man with a bandage around his head. And I replaced the officer standing on the corner with a big flag and so on and so forth. But that gave me the information I needed to do the final painting, which is right there. I wish I still had this one, but I sold it to, I sold most of the paintings from that book a couple of years ago.
David, that is incredible.
Well, I have good days and bad days. But can you see where it started as that little tiny sketch, and then it became my son-in-law, and then the pencil sketch. So that whole process meant that painting took about a week to do, if I remember correctly. That was about 11 years ago, so I've done a lot since then. But I think about...
Well, David, I'm glad you said it takes about a week. And the reason is because when I go to schools and visit them, I tell them, although I'm not an illustrator, I often hear a picture takes about a week to do.
Yeah. Yep. That's a pretty good gauge.
Well,
And
how
in my
many
case,
hours?
sorry?
How many hours a day would you work on that and it'd be a week?
Well, now that's tricky to answer because I have days where I'm extremely productive and I can put in 10 or 12 hours, not as many as I used to. And then there are days when I'm lucky if I get 2 hours worth of work done for a variety of reasons. You know, I work at home, and that does come with benefits and a few not so pleasant aspects. For instance, if my grandkids come over to visit, there's no way I'm not going to spend time with them, right?
Sure.
The studio is rarely off limits. I'd rather have them up here checking this stuff out,
Yeah.
So yeah. So when I say a week, that is a very rough estimate. And some paintings take me months to do. If they have multiple figures and with the type of work that I do, it's historic in nature. So I'm always researching, like what is the correct kind of helmet? That was the Revolutionary War. What if I do something from the 1500s? Then you've got to have a Morian helmet, And trust me, kids, this thing sucks. I don't know how else to put it. This is not fun to wear.
Is it heavy? It's heavy?
It's heavy, and look what it did to my beautiful hair. So anyhow, there's a certain amount of time that I spend doing things before I ever get to the canvas. Research, posing, just testing out ideas. So yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah.
And Michael, isn't that a bit like writing too? I mean, there's a lot you have to do before you ever craft the story, right?
I'm starting a new novel, and since the quarantine all started, which was 2.5 months ago, I just finished chapter 1
Ooh,
of a
okay.
book. And so, yes, it's very slow. You redo it. You going to draw for us?
I am. Is that okay?
Oh, please. Go for it.
I told you I'm a monster kid. I'm a history kid, so I'm going to try to find a balance between the two. Okay. Let's see what happens. Can you see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Good lighting on it.
Yay.
I'm trying not to, I'm not going to talk too much because it'll take the screen back to whoever is speaking. So I'm just going to leave it on you if you want to just talk from time to time.
Sure. Yeah. I have fond memories of going to a museum when I was about 6 years old, the Science Museum of Minnesota. It's in St. Paul, not too far from where I live. And I saw my first dinosaurs. And this was on the heels of going to a drive-in theater with my Aunt Bonnie and my grandparents to watch a movie called The Valley of Gwangi, which I love. It's not in any way, shape, or form historically or scientifically accurate because it has cowboys and dinosaurs, okay? But as a little kid, and even then I knew that they didn't exist at the same time, but boy, was that exciting. So to this day, I'm fascinated with dinosaurs, you know?
See, David, I thought you were drawing a landscape.
It did look like it, didn't it?
Yeah, it really did. It looked like mountains.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
You're a very good artist.
I have good days and bad days. We'll see if this is a good day or not.
Is that, what are you using to draw with?
I've got a piece of charcoal.
Oh,
Pretty
okay. All right.
Yeah, and I don't normally get a chance to draw with charcoal because most of my preparatory work for my books needs to be a bit more precise and a bit smaller. But whenever I get to just draw something for fun, this is what I use. And I'll be honest, I'm not a paleontologist, so this dinosaur is looking a little wonky if you want my opinion. But you know what? It's my artistic interpretation of a Tyrannosaurus. Maybe it's a juvenile, you know? Maybe that's what's going on here. Let's see. Daniel, can you tip your head back towards the ceiling for a moment and put your nostril up against the screen? Sweet. Yeah.
Do it again, Daniel.
Ah,
Closer,
nice.
Daniel. Closer.
Right up to, there we go. All right, my dear. Now, let's see. Dear sister, can you show me your teeth again? I just want to, actually, I want to see your jaw muscles. So like turn your head to the side, crank it over. Yeah, so you notice how there's like a shadow under there. That's kind of what I'm pushing for here. Shadow and a little bit of roundness. Now, the nice thing about charcoal is I can use my fingers to do a bit of blending. So there you go. All right. Yeah, look at that. See, you should, yep. Oh, I also need to see your ear. Can you pull your hair back? Sweet. Now that's a nice looking ear. This, not so nice.
We grow them really well in Tennessee, buddy.
Really, there's something about, yeah, it's got to be the climate or I don't know, the crops maybe. Okay, with a drawing like this, I will oftentimes do it, and maybe it's hard to tell, but this is gray tinted paper. And for me, the beauty of drawing something like this on gray paper is it's already sort of a middle value. You know, if you think of any picture of being really light to really dark, most of what's in the room around you is somewhere in the middle, you know? So this is somewhere in the middle. This is as dark as I can get. And now, a bit of white.
Whoa.
So now I can make the background light, at least selectively highlight part of it. And then what that does is suddenly, look how that head's a lot darker than it was a moment ago.
Yeah.
You know, so it's all about contrast and whatnot. And then I'm going to do a little bit down here just to bring out the front of the head, the jaw. Okay, so that's a quick way to do that. And then a little bit of highlighting on the teeth, for instance. Can you see that at all?
Yes, it shows very well.
So you can, yeah, the teeth now stand out a little bit. And of course, we need a highlight in the eye.
Oh, wow.
And Daniel, let me see your nostril again. Nice. Great nostrils. Wow. If you had a cold, though, you'd have, something running out of it like that. A little bit of wet. Ugh. And so this, to me, is what I will do when I get to draw for fun. This is the way I tend to go. And I like using a gray sketchbook. I've got lots of little ones. I'm sorry I don't have any of them out here right now. They're in my art kit, which is over there on the other side. But when I take a trip, as with most people, I've got this, right? Camera, phone. Rarely use it as a phone, always use it as a camera. The problem is, I know for a fact, I will shoot, 150 pictures on a trip, and I'll look at maybe 3 of them. If I take an hour with my sketchbook and sit in the corner and sketch that building instead of just shooting a photograph of it, not only do I now have a drawing of the building, but I have a sense memory of sitting there, watching the building, maybe talking with somebody as they come by. Years later, I may well remember if it was a warm day, a cool day, what I had to eat while I was there. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So you have more of a sense memory. So I always recommend, and I don't care if a person considers themselves an artist or not, please consider keeping even just a simple little sketchbook with a couple simple tools. And it's good for your soul. It's good for your mind. You just sit, it changes your pace. You watch something, you observe, and then you turn it into a journal and you write 2 or 3 sentences about what that picture is and what you did that day. And I can guarantee that will be more important than any photograph you're going to shoot on the trip. And as a historian, I know that if that picture survives 100 years from now or 200 years from now, somebody will get a better glimpse into who you were, as opposed to if they just found your digital photo, which who knows if they'll ever find those, right? So drawing. Now I'm a hypocrite. I don't draw every day. I should, but I always create something every day. Whether it's, whether it's painting or building a fairy house in the garden with my grandkids, or I started writing a little bit. But for me, being creative it's not just something I do, it's who I am. It's part of my life. And I know for a fact that if I don't create a little something every day, I go crazier than usual, and that's not pretty. So, anyhow, does that make sense?
Yes.
It makes sense to me too, because I think many people have this urge to create. And so if you're not creating your art or you're not writing a book, like for instance, I like to write rap songs that go with the presentations I do at conferences.
And he does. If you haven't heard, trust me, he's great at it.
Pam has heard me before. So
Yes, very nice.
She's been on the receiving end of it, huh?
Yes.
Well, anyhow,
well,
something like that. It's a quick sketch. It's made easier by the fact that I started with gray, which deals with half of the work. If this was a white piece of paper, I would have spent a long time trying to fill in the white. As it is, half the battle's over. It's already gray to begin with. So you go light and you go dark and amaze your family members and friends. So if you don't already have something, look for some white chalk, some black charcoal, or some black markers. If you can't find any gray paper, there's a good chance you've got some brown paper grocery bags around the house.
Yeah.
Those are great. Fun thing to do with those, cut it into the piece you want, flip it over so you're not drawing on the part that has the name of the store on it. If you want to do something really funky, crumple it up into a ball, flatten it out, iron it. You don't have this really cool texture, and then draw on top of that. So give it a try. And if you do, please find a way to send me through my website. You can contact the artist. Send me a picture of what you do. I'd love to see it.
Well, I'm going to put your information in this video here, so it will be, people will not have to look it up. They'll have it. Also, Daniel has some questions. We have something in the Book Cafe called Lightning Round.
Uh-oh.
He is going to ask you 1 minute worth of questions. And if he runs out, I'll throw in a couple extra too. And Pam can as well, but we know he has some. So you have to answer them honestly and very quickly so we get them all in.
Gotcha.
Are you ready?
Okay, hold on. Here we go.
All right, wait a minute. Daniel, are you ready?
Go.
I'm going to give you 1 minute. Go.
Do you prefer digitally or hand drawn?
Hand drawn. Hand drawn.
What's your favorite color?
Favorite color? Blue.
What's your favorite historical figure?
Abraham Lincoln.
Who's your favorite Star Wars character?
Oh, I'm a Luke Skywalker guy. I'm sorry, I can't help it.
Who's your favorite artist?
Oh, N.C. Wyeth. N.C. Wyeth.
Who's your role model?
My wife. She works a lot harder than I ever have my whole life. Fought for 38 years.
When did you decide you wanted to become an artist?
Very, very young. By the time I was in second or third grade, it was my identity. I moved constantly as a kid. Being an artist was the way I fit in.
What's your favorite dessert?
My favorite what?
Dessert.
Dessert?
Yes.
Pecan pie. Obviously, right?
Who's the most famous person you've ever met?
Michael Shoulders.
Get out of here. You've had a sheltered life.
Maybe.
Well, listen, Pam, our time is up.
Okay.
Daniel, Alyssa, we have to say adieu. Adieu? Adieu.
Adieu. Auf Wiedersehen.
Yeah. Choose. If you're in Bavaria, choose. David, mille grazie.
Oh, thank you. This was fun, everybody. It was nice meeting you.
Here's
Yeah,
to
it
this.
was.
David, I've learned so much about you. We have met, but I've
Oh.
learned so much more. This was incredible. Thanks,
Oh, good.
everyone. We'll see you at the Book Cafe some other time. Bye.
Bye-bye.